Peter Krauth sees the industrial demand driving silver upward. He said to $30 price point this year is not out of the question. More dramatically, during the VRIC Silver Outlook panel, he suggested silver could climb to over $300 an ounce by the year 2030.
Connection established.
Folks, mark your calendars. On February 9th, which is tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, I will be posting the most important video about silver to ever hit YouTube. It is about corruption, lies, serious allegations, illegal activity, and it is something that every single silver stacker needs to watch. Not for my sake, for your own. You have to see this. I'm being serious. 11 a.m. February 9th, Eastern Standard. When you're trying to find something to invest into, you have to look at where that thing is headed, not where it's currently at. You're investing into it. You're looking at the potential. What makes it valuable? Well, silver fits that narrative of the perfect investment far beyond anything else. It's extremely undervalued, and where it's headed makes a lot of sense to the sky for how useful silver is. And the stars are aligning. The perfect storm is here. The floodgates have opened, and it's looking like that time is coming soon. How soon? That's the million-dollar question. But even beyond what I just said, silver is not an investment. It is money. But if you are looking at this as a form to get rich or maybe pay off your mortgage, you can look at it however you want. The point is, silver's price in dollar terms will rise. But is it silver rising or is it the dollar dwindling? Let's check out this article from Peter Krauth, Silver Industry at Inflection Point as Strong Demand Meets Short Supply. Investing 101, low supply, high demand does what? It shoots the price up. And I quote, I like to say that industrial demand provides a rising, steady floor under silver's price. And when investment demand kicks in, that's the wild card that helps to create the rallies and the spikes. And if you don't think that's true, look what Wall Street Silver did in February 2021. A group of people pushed silver's price up to the highest it's been since 2011 in only 2 days. Imagine on a bigger scale, mainstream media. Well, that happened. CNBC yesterday posted an article talking about how in 2024, silver is going to break 10-year highs and that it is the perfect investment. CNBC. So if Wall Street Silver could do that in only 2 days, imagine on a bigger scale with a lot more people. This is something that I'm glad he brought up because I think it's overlooked. I don't think people understand that all it takes are a couple different factors and variables which could light the silver fuse and push it up to record highs. There's a lot of price suppression, but that doesn't mean that that can overhold what is also boiling underneath the surface. Comparing it to a volcano, there's a gold volcano, there's a silver volcano. Gold's volcano has already erupted. Gold is at all-time highs, past $2,000. Well, silver always follows gold. It just lags behind. Silver's volcano has not erupted yet. It's not even half of its all-time high. So when it follows gold, which it will, proof gold to silver ratio is above 90-1, it always comes back down when it's that high, meaning silver is going to start outperforming gold, is going to start following gold, following up higher, gold to silver ratio lowering. And when that starts to happen, investor demand could spark the fuse, fundamental supply and demand could spark the fuse, economic controversy could spark the fuse, presidential election in November could spark the fuse, the BRICS nations de-dollarization could spark the fuse. We could even talk about interest rates and the Federal Reserve or the FOMC meeting. There's so many different variables, and it's all pointing towards higher silver prices. That's what I'm trying to get to. So since July of 2020, the price of an ounce of silver has largely fluctuated between $20 and $26 an ounce, with a couple of exceptions. Where's the white metal headed in 2024 and beyond? The use of silver in society dates back to more than 4,000 or 5,000 years. First used to make jewelry and coins, it's found more varied applications as time goes by. While it still enjoys a position as a precious metal, it is increasingly finding important roles in the electronics industry and in the worldwide transition to renewable energy sources. Speaking at this year's Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, Peter Kraut, editor of Silver Stock Investor and author of The Great Silver Bull, provided insight on what investors can expect from silver in the future. The tide could be turning for the resource sector. The resource space has seen little interest from retail investors over the past 10 years, which has contributed to an undervaluation in mining stocks. Kraut sees a change coming on that front and said that with interest rate cuts looming, global macroeconomic environment is beginning to shift to a more positive position for the sector. Like I was just mentioning, macro, not micro, macro. He's predicting a strong decade ahead for commodities. Why decade? Because we're trying to push zero net emissions by the year 2050, but in the next 5 to 10 years, the solar industry, electric vehicle industry, and all these other uses with AI chips and new components in EVs that are going to be requiring more silver, and military, aerospace, all of these sectors are rising. So demand is going to be toppling the supply side, and we're already setting record-breaking supply deficits the last 2 years. It's only going to get worse. So there's a world survey, or there was a survey by Bank of America. They looked at fund managers and asked them what their exposure was to commodities versus bonds. And we're at the lowest point that we've been since March of 2009. So they're most underweight right now for commodities versus bonds, he told the audience at the event. Here's the good question. Is there enough silver to meet demand? This is the rabbit hole we're kind of diving into. Kraut is optimistic about silver in particular, nothing that is held up well in the face of aggressive rate hikes. The metal supply demand dynamics have helped to provide price support, with demand reaching record highs and mine supply shrinking. Despite record demand in silver, we actually had a shrinkage of 18 million ounces last year in supply. That's about 2%. The Silver Institute thought supply would actually be up, he explained. And by the way, looking at the word Silver Institute, if you guys are watching this video, mark your calendars, because tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST, Eastern Standard, I will be posting the craziest video that will have ever come out in the silver world. I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about some serious controversial allegations about some seriously messed up stuff, and to scales I can't even try to explain. So on February 9th at 11 a.m. EST, tune in, because that's when it's scheduled. I recorded the video an hour ago, but it's too late at night to post that video. I wanted to get as many views as possible because everyone needs to see that. So if you're watching this, set an alarm, 11 a.m. EST tomorrow, February 9th. So anyways, the biggest issue contributing to constrained silver supply is challenges that have weighed on producers' ability to get commodity out of the ground and to market, most notably in Latin America. Mexico, which is the world's largest silver producer, was actually down 12% last year. That's important. Mexico is the largest, and Peru. And, if we're talking about the largest, where most of our silver comes from is down 12%, and then demand is rising, that is detrimental, and we're way, way too deep in the hole to dig ourselves out, pun intended. A lot of that has to do with Newmont's Pensacola mine, which was offline for 4 months due to a strike. And then we're going to start seeing more strikes as people don't want silver mines or mines at all. It contaminates the groundwater. That's why the most recent mine in Canada got shut down. People striked it. So Peru has actually seen its mine supply shrink for the last 6 or 7 years. We're down to levels we had 20 years ago. Like I said, Mexico and Peru, those are the two biggest countries. They accumulate nearly half of all the silver production worldwide. Those two countries alone. It's like Mexico, Peru, Chile, Australia. But Mexico and Peru alone, that's where all the silver comes from. But both of those countries have been hit hard. Like they said, 6 or 7 years, supply has been dwindling. But demand has been at record levels. People don't understand this. There is not enough silver. He doesn't see that changing anytime soon. Bam. There are a few silver projects in development, including some in Russia, that seem uncertain, and one in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Krauth said is likely to go ahead. The closest to production is Endeavor Silver, and that's in Mexico, which is expected to come online in late 2024. But folks, silver mines don't push as much as you think. For example, Keith Neumeyer, CEO of First Majestic Silver, says they dig up around 10 million ounces annually. Phillips Baker, CEO of Hecla Mining, I was saying Hecla and Baker at the same time, about 10 million ounces a year. So shortfalls have been made up by above ground silver supply. Krauth sees this as a problem. He pointed to the Silver Institute's estimation that over the past 3 years, silver has been in a deficit about 500 million ounces. That is crazy. In the past 3 years, we've seen a deficit of 500 million ounces. Other than mining or recycling, let me stop right there. I can't just skip over that number. Folks, that's in the past 3 years. So imagine in the next 7 years, or by the year 2030, how many, will it be 1 billion ounces? Probably. As solar panel production's up this year, EVs, every automobile company by the year 2030 is going to be an EV. Then AI chips are taking over. They found more uses for silver in EVs that works better, but it's going to require more silver than the Green New Deal's pushing on. We don't have enough. And the numbers don't lie. Anyone who says, oh, the silver shortage is a myth, they are stupid. They are blatantly either lying or ignorant to the fact that they probably said it before and don't want to admit they were wrong, so trying to hold on to a case. Because these numbers, I mean, like the one guy, I forget who said it, but he said, if you think we have enough silver to go green, you're living in La La Land. I thought that was the perfect way to explain it. So other than mining or recycling, you got people who are perhaps selling their holdings back into the market. Not many, but you have some ETFs or exchange traded funds that hold silver going back into the market. You have people taking delivery on futures contracts. So if you add all that up, there is supply that is meeting demand, but nobody knows exactly what the above ground supplies are. You have to assume a few billion ounces, but in 3 years, we're at 500 million ounces. You'd have to imagine that can really go on so long. And yeah, especially when the Silver Institute isn't incorporating other major sectors that also are taking our silver, like military and aerospace. So demand's higher, and that also means that the reserves are much lower. So the industrial demand side is growing a lot. I like to say industrial demand provides a rising steady floor under the silver price. And when investment demand kicks in, that's the wild card that helps create these rallies and spikes in the silver price. That's what you really want to be exposed to. And yeah, I mean, like right now, like I said, silver is extremely undervalued. $22.70 or something today, $22.74. I know this because I'm a broker and I took some orders today. Oh, by the way, I have 100-ounce bars for $1.39 over spot. Slayer at milesfranklin.com. I sold a couple of those today. 100-ounce bars for $1.39 over spot. That's basically spot price. That is insane. And we have 12 different types of 10-ounce bars, or 12 different types of 100-ounce bars, and then we have 8 different types of 10-ounce bars. We have like the largest inventory I've ever seen. Like, it's insane. Some people get overwhelmed. They're like, you just pick whatever. I don't know. You pick one of the 10-ounce bars. I don't know. There's too many options. It's kind of cool, though. I like that. But regardless, on a serious note, Slayer at Miles Franklin, but on a serious note, the silver's price is $20.74. If you think that $20.74 is too pricey for an ounce of silver, you're insane. Because even $50, and I want to ask you a question. What do you think is silver's, not true price, but what price are you willing to sell at? Or what price, or I could flip it, what price would you throw in the towel and say, I'm not willing to pay that much for an ounce anymore? For example, if silver hits $60 an ounce, are you still going to be buying it? Or will you be selling it? If silver hits $100, will you throw in the towel and say, no, I'm not buying anymore? Or what price are you willing to sell at? If the price is $200, are you willing to sell? Look at that question from both angles. What price are you willing, or what price are you willing to throw in the towel? Is it $50 you won't buy anymore? And then also, what price are you willing to sell? Is it $200 you're willing to sell? Like, what are those? That's interesting to look at. I know a lot of people will probably never sell, but if you're looking at this from an investment capitalistic perspective, what price is that? I'm curious. So they keep going on. In addition to photovoltaics out here, crowd believes the industry is at an inflection point. New technologies being adopted quickly. Demand from industrial sources is going to increase dramatically over the next few years against backdrop of incentives from governments encouraging the installation of new solar capacity. Right. This is insane, folks. If we read this entire article, which and then remember, here we go, forecast revision. Expecting solar to account for 30% of industrial demand by 2023, higher than the previous year's level of 25%. And then they had to revise. Demand is only going to increase even if sales remain flat. Because we also have, we have our own, what's the word? We have our own promises in place, our own, I can't think of the word right now, incentives where for the Green New Deal, saying that we are putting out this much, or we have, a contract to push this many solar panels, or, whatever, not even just solar panels, everything. And even if the economy's falling, that won't affect, because we already have a set number. That's what a lot of people are incorporating when they talk about, well, if there's an economic downturn, the economy's doing bad and there's not as much industry, that doesn't matter. We already have standards set in place regardless of what the economy's doing. But even on that note, that's irrelevant to the bigger picture. Like Peter Kraut said, solar will be the world's largest source of energy. It will surpass coal, natural gas. Solar is absolutely taking over in many places of the cheapest form of new energy to add to your grid. And that's PV cells, photovoltaics. And then he drew the attention to the possibility for silver to replace platinum group metals. That would be even crazier, and that would drive production costs down, potentially adopt quickly, meaning that would be even more uses for silver. And then he suggests silver could climb to over $300 by the year 2030. And he's giving all these examples of why. And if you incorporate the possibility of price manipulation or price suppression disappearing, or not disappearing, but getting exposed to some extent, then silver's true price could hit, who knows what. I'm not saying it'll hit above, or I'm not saying it'll hit $300 in the next 4, 5, 6 years, but I'm saying that there is no real price to silver because it's been manipulated. Think of gold as $2,000. What does gold do? It sits around in vaults and sits on your finger in earrings and necklaces and watches. That's all it does. There's a little bit of gold in electronics. Tiny, tiny bit. Gold is mainly used as a monetary metal. Sits in vaults at banks and just sits around to look cool on you. Silver is needed in everything. So why is gold 90 times more valuable than silver when silver has 90,000 times more value than gold? 90,000 times that more. I mean, silver has so many more uses. So to think that $22.74 is a price that will stay at, or $50 is too pricey, you're looking at in such a brainwashed. You're looking in a brainwashed way. You're not looking. I mean, think about how useful silver is. $50 for an ounce, when an ounce does only so much, and there's 500 ounces in a single missile, 100 ounces on average in each missile, and we're bombing thousands of missiles a day and in 5 wars, not even incorporating EVs. To say that $22.74 is an average price, or $30 is, you're going to be sadly mistaken. And like this guy says, he suggested silver could climb to over $300 by the year 2030. Who knows what's going to happen? Look how much has happened in the last 3-4 years. So imagine in the next 5-6 years. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, tomorrow, mark your calendars, 11 a.m. I have a crazy video for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.